Hi everybody, in this video I am going to talk about a Swedish national treasure, Svante Thuresson. For those of you who doesn't know him, I will give you a short brief introduction who he is. Svante Thuresson is a Swedish jazz drummer and singer. He is predominantly known as singer, but he is also an avid jazz drummer. He started his career in the 60s, where he got very popular when he sang a duet with another Swedish singer, Lili Lindfors, who won the Swedish pre-selection to the Eurovision Song Contest, and they sang it together and represented Sweden in one of the contests in the early 60s. This song with its clever lyrics has become a Swedish cult favorite. And after that he joined a group called Gals and Pals, which were sort of the Swedish answer to, what shall I say, Manhattan Transfer or Swingle Singers, other groups, who sang multiple, who sang, a cappella, multiple vocals, but they didn't sing a cappella, they sang with orchestra and so on. And a lot of tracks Svante performed were songs from the Great American Songbook, translated into Swedish by Beppe Wolgers, a very known Swedish writer, translator, author, etc. He translated lots of these songs. And a couple of years ago, Svante did a show called Svante Meets Beppe, where he took these translations, performed them, and also read passages from a book by Beppe Wolgers, memoir of his life, and told stories about Beppe. And I had the fortune of reviewing that show for my local newspaper, and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And on that scene he was joined by Klas Krona Trio. Klas Krona is one of Sweden's hard-working jazz pianists. And I should say that Svante has turned 80. He's a couple of years older than 80, but he still tours and works like nothing has to stop him. And Klas is well over 70. I think he's close to 80, 75, something like that. And he still tours avidly in Sweden all the time. And Klas Krona is not only an avid jazz pianist and a good arranger. He also owns Crown Jewels, which is his own little record company where he releases jazz CDs, which he records and produces in a studio. He does everything himself, and these CDs are very hard to get. He usually sells them at his concerts, and you can buy them at a large department store in central Stockholm. Otherwise, you can try to contact Krona and order them, but they're pretty hard to get. And this CD, for instance, I have not found it on any download sites. It's not available on YouTube. You can't download it from iTunes, so you have to buy this CD from Sweden, I'm afraid, and get a physical copy if you want to listen to it. And what I'm talking about is their latest collaboration, which is called 4. This cover is a drawing of Svante made by himself. And 4 can reflect on the fact that there are 4 people involved in the CD. At least you can hear on it. It is Svante Thuresson and the Klas Krona Trio. And the Klas Krona Trio consists, apart from Klas on the grand piano, of Johan Löfkrans Brumsey on the drums, and Hans Andersson, who performs a classic acoustic upright standing bass. And the CD, who has a playing time of some bit over 50 minutes, features, I thought first, were they going to make a recording of the Svante Meets Beppe, but they didn't. Instead they have chosen 13 tracks, all in English, that are mostly taken from the American Songbook, but not the most famous ones. Some things are like Spring Will Be a Little Late This Year, that starts off the CD, and the last one, You Must Believe in Spring. The title 4 also comes from track number 2, which is the Jon Hendricks lyric version of Miles Davis 4. Svante Thuresson has also been involved in 2 tracks on the CD. Quincy Jones wrote a song called Stockholm Sweden when he was in Sweden, and that one has Svante written new lyrics to. There's also a piece by a Brazilian musician called E. Zindars. I forgot what the E stands for now. It's called How My Heart Sings, and it was originally an instrumental composition that, amongst other, Bill Evans has recorded, but this is Svante's lyrics. The other ones, according to here, is Tom Wolfe, I'm Always Drunk in San Francisco. It's Love by Bernstein, Camden and Green from the musical On the Town. And he also does the classics Old Folks, I Walk a Little Faster, and Johnny Mandel and Paul Francis Webster's A Time for Love. There are also a couple of tracks that I have not been able to locate where they come from. For instance, one track by Roger Hammerstein called A Wonderful Gal, I have googled, but I haven't found the tracks that's this by them. And the CD comes in like this digipack with a single panel. You can open it up and there's just some technical information and some colored pictures of the people involved. But there is no what shall I say, booklet or anything, and there is nothing written. So I don't know why exactly Svante chose these songs, because none of these songs are songs that Beppe translated. So this is not that he's taken the Beppe translations and did the American originals. He may have translated some of these songs, but it's not something that I can recall. And he sings with a very smooth, he has a very smooth, soft and tender jazz voice that works exquisitely well in jazz. And all the players are very routined. I mean, both Löfkrans Ramsey and Anders Hansson on bass are a bit younger than the two others, but that doesn't make them any less good than the two more experienced players here. I call Svante player because I believe that his voice is like an instrument. Andersson, for instance, Hans Andersson, the bass player, I think he's a teacher at a musical college where he teaches double bass or so on. And the performances, like I said, throughout are glorious. Svante sings with ease and grace, and there are lots of time for soloists, predominantly the piano, but also some bass solos and a little bit of drumming. So if you like classical male jazz singing at its best, you ought not to pass up this CD. I am utmost sorry to say that I do not know how people outside Sweden will be able to obtain this wonderful CD. Well, I bought mine from a record store called Bengans.se. I do not know if they ship internationally, if you can buy it there. But since Swedish music is big in countries like Japan, and I know that some Swedish artists release jazz CDs especially for the Japanese market. I have some of those home in my record collection that I've had to import from, say, Japan or America. I suppose one also could Google Klaus Krona and go into his website on Klaus Krona and ask him how to obtain the CD, because I assume that he would want this CD to come out in the world. At least I'm hoping. And Klaus Krona does perform around in other countries. Also one time when I emailed him and I was going to buy a CD from him directly, he said, sure, you can buy it from me, but it'll take a couple of days before I can mail it, because I am in Germany now, and I will mail it when I get home to Sweden. So I assume he was in tour in Germany. And it's also very great. Now this might sound like a cliche, and I'm not going to be the one who says that I think that old people should just sit down and in the rocking chair knitting, doing nothing. I mean, but I think it is wonderful that these two people, Krona and Thuresson, has chosen not to retire. That they still, after all these years, feel a joy and warmth towards music and wants to make music again. This is recorded during 2 days last autumn in a studio outside Stockholm. And I can't imagine what an ease and lovely feeling it must have been to record this simultaneously. I mean, it doesn't say here anything about it in the booklet, but I'm assuming that they recorded everything, I mean, live, meaning that the trio played and Svante sang, not that the trio first made backgrounds and that he sang to them. I think this is a case where everybody involved performed all at the same time. So truly recommended if you can get your hands on it, albeit it might be a little bit hard.